Greetings, Rigil Agateiades here, and while I don't particularly like the color red, I do have to admit it looked great on two things: enemies on fire and a Gelgoog. The mobile suit today isn't just a red Gelgoog, it's one of the final versions of the 1 Year War icon while keeping pretty much all of its glory. This is the Gelgoog who found itself in a better position than ever after 4 years into the game, the 600 cost rate type, Gelgoog Vertex. Despite looking just like the old Gelgoog except with a Rigil slapped on its back, which is probably exactly what it is, the performance of this mobile suit is way beyond that on the original 1 Year War antique. But while the mobile suit performance itself is excellent, we must first talk about the biggest strength of this mobile suit and why it only got better over the years: its almost endless stagger potential. The main weapon which allows the Gelgoog Vertex to stop literally anybody is the Mega Gatling Gun. With 17% stagger per hit and up to 17 shots before overheating, you can reach a maximum of 289% stagger just by holding down the trigger. This lets the Gelgoog Vertex stagger anyone with sheer stagger accumulation. Even the hardest mobile suits to stop at its cost, the Oberon armored form, doesn't stand a chance. The Gatling gun is good in almost every way, but it's not the only weapon on this mobile suit with high stagger. If that's the case, I wouldn't call it endless stagger potential, would I? Instead, it's not just the Gatling gun that has high stagger. Every weapon on this mobile suit is all about stagger accumulation. Second weapon on the Gelgoog Vertex is the Arm Beam Gun. Damage and fire rate is not as impressive as the Beam Gatling, but what's equally strong is its stagger potential. At 25% stagger per hit, this weapon staggers as quickly as the main weapon, and with 8 shots before it overheats, that's another 200% stagger accumulation. That gives us two weapons that dish out 200% stagger or above, but we're not stopping there. The stagger accumulation streak doesn't stop here, as we still have the third and the best weapon on this Gelgoog, the Gelgoog Vertex Back Missile Pods. Firing 8 missiles with 25% stagger each, these missiles have just as high stagger accumulation as the two previous weapons, but they don't just fire on thrusters, they even steer. As the missiles will always hit as long as your cursor is on the enemy, these missiles can play the same role as any spread beam type weapon, perfect for starting melee combos by getting a stagger while on maneuver armor. Would have loved to use them on the Zaku 4, but with the enemy heavy Gundam in the way, we just steer our missiles at him first before moving on to the main target. Despite all that stagger accumulation, this mobile suit is a melee heavy rate type, so we're going straight at the Zaku 4. He manages to get away from our first two attacks with resist move, but with two melee weapons and standard cooldown on both, all we had to do is to keep swinging and he's going down. That attack worked out fine, but those with a keen eye would realize there is a downside with all this stagger accumulation. Having infinite stagger accumulation by cycling through these three weapons sounds broken, but just like all things, you shouldn't go to the extreme. This endless stagger accumulation indeed comes at a price. This mobile suit has no instant staggers. On this mobile suit, pulling off melee combos are far from easy even against support types. Get a stagger too early and you risk getting tackled. Get it too late and you're using extra thrusters to get back on track. But the worst part of all is the gigantic shoulder on your back. Try to peek from behind cover and you're guaranteed to be hit first, even with a right-hand advantage, as these shoulders will always stick out. You're literally giving your enemies a free half a second to take aim. That's something even the highest level special buffers can't solve. With this huge downside from having only stagger accumulation, the Gelgoog Vertex was in a weird position for a very long time. What you want as a melee rate type are reliable instant staggers to quickly stagger support types at exactly the time you want, and not 600% stagger accumulation that can only stagger your opponent once. But the times have changed. With stagger reduction more and more prominent even among support types, the sheer stagger accumulation on the Gelgoog Vertex only comes in handy even more often. The Samel is obviously the perfect example where this is useful, but it's against the flying machines of 600 that the Gelgoog Vertex shines most. While we miraculously had none on the enemy team this time, 600 cost is where even support types start to fly. With the G Cannon, the Violent Custom O2, and now the Gap Slay Beta at this cost, the stagger accumulation this mobile suit offers becomes useful, especially against the latter two. The Gap Slay Beta may come with damage control and Shock Dampeners, but hold down the trigger long enough and is going down without trouble. And it's not just support types. With more than enough stagger accumulation in the world, nobody can stay in the sky against the Gelgoog Vertex. The only thing you have to be really careful with is the stupid Gundam hammer that nobody can do anything about. Didn't particularly rank that high this game, but considering we got top damage on our team and even higher diversion than our ace, I think we did pretty fine. With stagger accumulation that never runs out, there's nothing that this mobile suit can't stop once. Against anything that flies, that turns straight into a down and is free damage from that point. That's why as long as new mobile suits fly, the Gelgoog Vertex will only get stronger and stronger. On the other hand, this mobile suit is absolutely useless against the stupid Gundam hammer. Not like anyone is having a good time against that though. Who thought a melee that can't be countered would be a good idea? That's it from me today. Really hope they can tone down the Gundam as soon as possible, especially at higher levels. And laters.